The plan after L'Jarius Sneed was Jalen Watson to pair with Trent McDuffie on the outside, but really the injury and then him coming back did not work out. The Chiefs are still in search of the tandem, really the trio along the cornerback position. They brought in Christian Fulton, and then they moved up in the 2025 NFL draft for Nohl Williams out of Cal, the 6 foot, 199 pound with nearly 31-inch arm cornerback. Was a very big producer in his final season of college football at Cal University. Today, we are going to dive into all the different things that he does well, where he fits in this defense specifically, and how he can get better, how he's going to mesh, maybe earn more playing time with Trent McDuffie alongside our guy, Christian Fulton, that we all wanted to see in Kansas City for a long time. But that's really what this comes down to, how the Chiefs can consistently get high-level play. Is Jalen Watson still among the leaders in the clubhouse to be a starter after that injury? We don't really know how he's going to produce. But you guys, this is what we do every single Wednesday. Welcome into RGR Football. My name is Daniel Harms, senior film analyst, and today we're diving into the tape of one Nohl Williams, one of my favorite corners in this entire draft. I love that the Chiefs went and got him, traded up in the 3rd round to go get him after they took Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gillotte. And now, you guys, if you're new to the channel, please hit that sub button right now. Become a member here at Rogue Nation before I dive into the tape, and allow me to earn a like from you guys, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to teach you something that maybe you didn't know before. And if you didn't, we'll find out. If you didn't learn something, we'll figure it all out. But let's go ahead and talk about one Nohl Williams. You're going to see him at the top of your screen here, lined up one-on-one on the outside against his former team, UNLV, where he played the first 3 seasons of his career. In the final game of the season, he did not sit out the ball game. Even as a 50-year senior, he decided to play. And this is the kind of player you're getting when it comes down to how physical he can be at the line of scrimmage. You like what he offers because he will jab, right? He'll use that arm as an extension. He doesn't have the longest arms in the world. Nearly 31 is more than enough to get it done, as long as you know how to do it properly. Right here, moving to the outside, right? He's moving this way. He jabs with that inside hand as the receiver is also going in that outward direction, so he's not locking his hips away from the motion of that wide receiver. And then you get the eyes. He's going to end up seeing eyes inside. Right here, he starts seeing right there. Ball comes out this way, and this is where, again, you see he's coming down, trying to fight through that block a little bit here. The receiver then tries to go up, and then he realizes as he comes around that the football is being run by the player right there underneath, comes down and delivers a hit. So physical at the line of scrimmage, good press man corner, identifies when he gets his head around to see where that football is coming. The only reason he took off with the receiver is because, again, if it's an option outside, you don't want to let that receiver get upfield without someone there. It's an easy pitch and catch. So really nice job on him to recognize that the wide receiver slows down when he gets up to the outside, and then turns around, locates that football, stops, sinks his hips, and then comes down and delivers a hit on the quarterback. He is one of my favorite players from the cornerbacks class from last season. He came into last year with good ball production, and then he went crazy last year with 7 total interceptions and 9 passes defensed in his final year in college football. He can line up on the outside, plays a little bit time to time in the slot, in the nickel, but it's not really his predominant place of service, where you're going to see him do a lot of that inside, outside. You see there, he does lock his hips just a little bit, but he's a physical player. I've said it on the RGR podcast and the RGR show, you guys know I think he can be the next L'Jarius Sneed in terms of what he does for this defense. He does have that play style that L'Jarius did, where he will get physical at the line of scrimmage, where he's throwing guys to the ground or he's jabbing them. One thing I want to see a little bit more from him is fighting with the same. So he's already anticipating throwing this inside hand, right? You see right there, he does a nice job of initiating that contact, right? But he does give it away a little bit. And this is where we talk about locking his hips. So he does have good hip fluidity. And obviously you see him down here. He does sink his hips. But with the receiver fighting inside, right? Going to that inside release, you want to fight or jab with that outside hand, right? If you jab outside hand against inside release, you can run with the receiver. You don't have to stop and flip your hips. But overall, what he does at the line of scrimmage at the point of attack, throwing off the timing and the feel of routes and being physical with the receiver does play into allowing him more time and affording him more time to be able to flip those hips around. Against NFL players, he's going to have probably less time to be able to do so. You see the receiver try to swipe his hands away to be able to get up inside and create more separation. NFL receivers might anticipate that jab coming a little bit more, especially because at the line of scrimmage, he does like to open up his hips and then come back down to square. And then you see him step in, right? He stepped in and gave that wide receiver the left arm into the chest. Other NFL players are going to be able to kind of see that coming. So he does a nice job of mixing things up, but overall, you do see the physical nature with which he plays, and that extends to every realm of football. I think that he's going to get better as a run defender, specifically with Spags and Dave Merritt at the helm, because that's what they do. They get guys that are very willing to tackle, to play against the run, and then they teach them to recognize the plays and play better against it. The click and close from him right there, again, is really, really easy. It's easy for him. You can see it, but this is just, it's not so much play recognition because you see how easy this is for him with the football coming out this way from SMU. The receivers coming up underneath the block out this way, and he didn't have to do much. So this play isn't about play recognition. It's more about the click close to get downhill before that football gets to the receiver in space, and then he makes a good job tackle. He does go low. A lot of times you see DBs do end up going low. You want to be teaching more of that technique, right? Where you square up and you hit him, not dipping your head, get shoulder on the football instead of the ankles and come through and actually tackle. But overall, he's going to be able to get into the backfield, get downhill into the flat and be able to make plays from time to time, being able to do that. So tackles for loss, we see the Chiefs cornerbacks anticipate throws, anticipate screens. That's another thing that he does very well. You see there again, recognizing a little bit of off coverage from him, seeing that the play is unfolding to the flat and he's triggering downhill. When we talk about what he's going to be most comfortable in, man, he's a very good press man cover corner. He plays cover 2 and cover 4 well. Cover 3 really isn't his strength, and that's fine because the Chiefs don't play a lot of cover 3 defense. But the reason he's got such good ball production is because he's a master when it comes to baiting the quarterback into those situations. And he does try to do that a lot. And that's where you see some of the wanting to come away with the football or force throws, anticipation become a problem. So here you got a curl and a corner route from Pitt on third down. There's that curl and then the corner route here. He anticipates a little bit too much here that the quarterback's going to throw to this corner window. And then you see how much he is away from the wide receiver underneath. So that's where you see he wants to anticipate the quarterback throwing this to the end zone on third down, because one, he was looking there initially and then he stopped, right? He goes closer towards the middle of the field and then he's coming up. So eyes were here initially and then they went back this way. He needs to stay on his receiver here. You've got enough time to break to the end zone, so you don't have to be anticipating the throw to the corner. You need to stop this throw from possibly happening. And in the process, he gives up a first down because the quarterback steps up into the pocket and then he gives up a first down. So when we see how much he plays off in uncomfortable situations, he's trying to anticipate where the football is going. That can bite you at times, but also it creates plays like this. And it's why he is so good in these type of off coverages, playing man coverage. He understands things that are coming, so they're going to motion number 2 out, and now he is on top of that receiver who's running that wheel route and then stop, right? So the stop route on the outside, and this is, again, he's reading the quarterback's eyes. This is what he wants to do. He just wants to see where the quarterback's going to throw. So he widens with that receiver. He kind of plays the quarterback into throwing this football a little bit, and this is where we talk about this is a bad throw from the quarterback. This is a really bad idea to throw this football because he, again, thinks that Nohl Williams is just off of it. So he's just going to throw it into the end zone, let the receiver adjust on a safety, hopefully go make a play. But again, that's what we talk about in terms of widening. So here you see, again, he's taking that receiver up the field a little bit while not really fully giving his speed to that outside receiver and keeping an eye on the quarterback, daring him to throw the football on the double move underneath here, where the receiver just kind of goes inside and then starts to fade away into that, and he comes away with the interception. So this is where he is really at his best, not necessarily off coverage, but we're talking about eyes on the quarterback, anticipating. We saw it in that first clip where he plays physically through the stem, and then he does a nice job of flipping around and getting his eyes to the quarterback. And that's another thing where we talk about the instincts of playing corner. He's got great instincts. He feels the game at a very high rate. My biggest issue, I think, in terms of his actual game is right here. It too often, while he's very willing against the run, he's got no problem coming downhill in run support and tackling and laying hits. He puts the receiver at number one priority too often, where instead of actually coming downhill and recognizing this is a run play, he triggers on the receiver and then goes and just kind of makes contact, right? So he sees the curl, and then he kind of gets in his face right there. This was a badly executed route, right? Like, he's not really running this full speed. He turns around, and then he actually goes back to Nohl Williams with his eyes in his head to give the effect of just that, where you see he's not actually running a route. It's more of just a block and try to take the attention away from the running back, who ends up going for a touchdown here. So just want him to do a little bit more from recognizing the run plays that are coming, and not always just doing the same thing of attacking the receiver and making him always the number one priority. Eyes in the backfield. From time to time, you have to be able to see, isolate the run play, and then attack it downhill, because this could have been a tackle for him to help not score a touchdown. All in all, I think, again, he's willing against the run. He's a physical player. He's willing to come downhill and tackle and throw his body on a little bit. We just need to work on the recognition of the run play, because that's where he's going to take that next step, where the Chiefs DBs have all taken that next step. Talking about the next step and getting more involved in what we do, here is a word from one of our newest sponsors and one of our best sponsors, Underdog. All right, everybody, we've got a win or go home situation for these Boston Celtics against the New York Knicks today with our Underdog slip. We hit last week, so let's try and go back-to-back weeks. And we're going to go, obviously, with Jason Tatum suffering a torn Achilles to end his season, probably going to end his 2025-2026 season, most of it, if not all of that as well. We're looking at a guy named Jrue Holiday, who I think is going to have to turn the clock back a little bit to help the Celtics stay alive in this series tonight against the Knicks. Again, we see not very many points he's scored in this series, but again, we got to see more from him. So he's projected at 11.5 points, and I think we need to see a higher for Jrue Holiday specifically. And we're going to hit 3 different picks for this pick'em slip. And again, with Derek White consistently being one of the best guys in the starting lineup for them, I think he needs to have another 20-point night. And as you can see here on the right-hand side, you must pick from at least 2 different teams. Of course, we're going to do that. And I'm going to hit over to Karl Anthony Towns on higher than 19.5 points. He's scored 20 in back-to-back games for the Knicks. Actually in 3 straight games for the Knicks, 1 at Boston, both at in New York these past couple of games. So there you have it right there for me. I like all of these, and let's do a little recap here, because we know that the Boston Celtics need to be able to win this game if they're going to have any chance of survival, even without Jason Tatum. We know that Jaylen Brown's a good player, but what is the bench going to do? What is some of the supporting cast going to do? And I think Derek White and Jrue Holiday are in for bigger nights than usual, while Karl Anthony Towns continues to put up 20 points in this game. You guys remember to use that code RGR at sign up to get your up to $1,000 bonus cash when you sign up using the code at underdog.com. And then we can create these every single week. You guys don't have to follow what I do for these pick'em slips. You can have your own fun. You can go to the MLB side, which we're going to get into once the playoffs are done here for the NBA. But please don't forget to sign up using our code right now. We appreciate Underdog being a part of the RGR family here. And hopefully you guys do use that code RGR at checkout at sign up to be able to get that up to $1,000 bonus cash deposit with your first deposit. Now, talk a little bit more about what Nohl Williams does as a corner himself. One of the things that you'll notice is that there are 2 different kinds of press coverage. There's physical press, hard press, or there's off press, soft press. Those are the two, hard press and soft press. Right here, you see he's going to be more of a soft press where he's off. He has inside leverage just so right there on that inside foot of the receiver. And this is where soft press, he can get into a little bit of trouble. And we talk about the difference between physical players. And really, Ryan and I talk about how we want the Chiefs to allow their corners to play with a little more physicality if they're going to be lined up in press coverage. And that's, again, he's got the freedom and willingness to be able to play that way. But too often in press, or in soft press, he gets beaten to the inside off that first move. He has the tools to recover and close on the football, which we're going to get to here in a second. But the receiver is going to jab outside with his release, which backs off Nohl Williams in that direction, right? I think he needs to stay more square. And then can use those hands, but keep your feet underneath you. You give away too much to the outside when you have inside leverage. You need to trust your ability here down the sideline, because I want you to just divide this in half, right? Look how much space is on the outside. Look how much space is underneath. This is where you need to defend. So that part of the defense is where the receiver wants to get to, and that's where we want to see stay square. Too often you see him open his hips, or excuse me, back up in that general direction in soft press right there. Boom, he backs up immediately. I know he's a big receiver. I know he might be able to out-physical you at the catch point at times, but you have inside leverage. Don't give it up just because of a little release. Trust your hip flip, trust your quick speed burst to be able to keep up, and then trust your ball skills and instincts, which he has a lot of. But this is where we come into the play of recovery. He does recover, and you see that hip flip where he's able to turn and execute the runaround and the burst to be able to close on the football. Receiver catches it, but he closes and knocks the football away. Left arm comes through and he punches it out, forcing an incomplete pass in the red zone. No touchdown. So that's where I want to take that specific part and flip it, right? We know he has the recovery skills and the speed to be able to do that. Trust those on the outside where you have far more room for error with the limited amount of space afforded to the receiver and the sideline to your back as well. So don't break off, give up all that inside space with inside leverage. We want to see the DB and Nohl Williams turn, keep his feet with you and with him and underneath him, and not give up inside. But again, the effort to get back to the play and then break this up at the catch point into the end zone is what I really appreciate about him. And talk about his transitions. He can be a little upright at times. You're going to see he gets a little upright here as he's moving out to his right in cover three. I think he's uncomfortable in cover three defense. And that's where you see a little bit of that. Cal motions pivots out almost essentially to a cover three type of shell. But the hip transition, right? He can flip to the outside here. He does a really nice job of getting his hips around. And so those transitions, they can be a little leggy at times. And you see the shuffle. I'd love to see a little bit more just straight drop back and opening up. But he does a nice job of using his hips to transition inside, outside. He can flip them with ease. And again, a really nice job being able to execute in those situations where he's reacting to the football being thrown in different spots of the field. So we've got man coverage, cover two, cover four, really where he excels. And cover three, he can play it, but it's not, I don't think he's as comfortable as a third of the field defender as he is a quarter of the field defender in cover four in that regard in terms of being back. So here again, rotating to a cover three, but this is where you see him catch a receiver at the top of the route. He tries to break down and he takes away a receiver. Being able to recover in multiple different situations. He's being backed off, right? Speed come through. So he initially, nice job staying square. Now we're going to open, assuming the wide receiver's coming around, right? He's going to speed up and try to attack the outside, force Nohl Williams to back up, open his hips that way. And then he's going to break down, right? He wants to break down and come back to the football. That's what he wants. Nohl does a nice job of, again, staying as square right there. As soon as the receiver comes toward him and starts to square up, he does the same thing, gives his chest, and that's where you want to see the contact at the top of the route, right there. He tries to push off Williams, number 9 does, and he stays right there. He sinks his hips after, and stays with him, and right there. When we have the quarterback coming back around, eyes were here initially. He's coming back around to the single man on the opposite side. This would be the throw, but Williams closes on him, knows that he can't throw that football because it will be either intercepted or just knocked away. And that's the recovery aspect of reading the tea leaves of what the receiver is giving you. So he initially comes to the outside, right? He accelerates with his stem towards the outside, a little bit of hip opening from Nohl Williams. And then as soon as that receiver squares up and attacks the feet, he squares too, catches him at the top, and then he's able to transition downhill with the receiver as well. So we've got a guy who does a really nice job transitioning and running a vertical route tree with these wide receivers, where he can be asked to play on the outside against some of the bigger players. He is a physical guy, and you guys, you've seen me talk about him and the ability that he has playing in that physical mindset in these reps that he consistently puts on tape, where, again, at the line of scrimmage, he's trying to jam. He can move. See, the wide receiver does a pretty decent job of coming up underneath this, but he's going to get his hips down, move his feet with him, keep contact through that route, and then break this pass up. Like, he's just in that receiver's hip pocket all the way through the route. And that's where we see the tools that make him a possible starter in this defense. He fits in with Trent McDuffie and Christian Fulton very well. He plays, in my opinion, very similarly to L'Jarius Sneed in the regard that he can be physical at the line of scrimmage. He can throw off that timing. He can put guys into the dirt. Like, I mean, maybe not to this extent that we saw L'Jarius Sneed do to Tyreek Hill, but I do appreciate everything that he offers from that regard, and the scheme versatility with cover 2, cover 4, and press man coverage that the Chiefs really do value. That was the reason they traded up on day 2 to go get him in the 3rd round, because he fits exactly what they're looking for. And even though he's not the tallest or the longest corner, he plays very long. He knows how to use his length. We talk about that with tackles. He knows how to use his length well, timing things well, and then able to use those hip transitions on the outside to catch receivers at the top of route, transition downhill, transition into the middle of the field, and then flip his hips and transition downfield. One thing, he ran a 4.5 at the combine. He's not the fastest long speed guy in the world. I think he's got very good burst to close on routes and burst to keep up. I think at times the reason he's not comfortable in cover 3 is because when he's trusted to be the sole defender of a third of the field, some of that speed is not at his advantage, and he will get run by at times. So that's something to pay attention to. But overall, the tools are there for him to be a very successful player. He meshes very well in this defense, and then just getting better at that run defense perspective, recognizing it, not always putting the receiver at the priority and playing the play first, right? Eyes in the backfield and then transition to the receiver. So all those things are really taught in this defense, and he rounds it out perfectly. And I do think he's going to vie for playing time with Trent McDuffie and Christian Fulton. Hopefully, Jalen Watson can get healthy and get better, because when you have 4 really good corners that you can trust, you're in a really good position. And I think Nohl Williams is going to be in position to play more snaps, maybe post-bye, but earlier than a lot of people expect. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this breakdown of Cal DB Nohl Williams, who is now a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm really excited to see what he does in this defense and what his upside is when we see it. So if you guys are new to the channel, please sub to RGR Football. I do these film breakdowns every single Wednesday. Next week we'll have probably Jalen Royals on the docket for you guys. And tune in, as Gary will have a video for you guys tomorrow. We'll have more content for you, and we are getting closer and closer to NFL training camp. I'm excited. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.